I can usually tell pretty quickly when a guy is about to buy the wrong pair of boots. He asks, "What's the best cowboy boot brand?" That sounds like the right question, but really, he should be asking, "What pair am I still going to want to wear after a week?" Because that's where a lot of boot purchases fall apart. The boot looks good online, they seem like the right brand, somebody swears by them, then you get them home and realize they don't fit your foot, your jeans, your day, or the way you actually live your life. So when I'm thinking about the best cowboy boot, I don't start with the name. I start with the use. Are you buying it for work? Are you buying it for everyday wear? For that wedding, that fancy concert, dinners, or just plain old comfort? Are you just trying to get one good pair that feels legitimate without spending the luxury money before you even know what you like? That's why the four brands that I actually talk about most are Lucchese, Ariat, Chisos, and Tecovas. They're not interchangeable, they solve very different problems. Lucchese is the name that gets respect first. There's a reason for that. The shape is usually cleaner than what you see from a lot of mass market boots. The leather has more depth, the finishing feels a little bit more intentional. A good Lucchese boot doesn't have to be loud to look expensive. If you're buying for a wedding, or a nice dinner, even business casual Western look, then Lucchese probably is going to be at the top of that list. But I would slow down before recommending it as a first pair. If you don't know your toe shape, if you don't know how you like the instep to feel, or if you're not sure how you prefer your leather, a lot of people are still figuring these things out. You've got to figure out how to actually wear a cowboy boot. If that's you, Lucchese can be a little bit challenging. So it's a great boot, but it can be a little bit more than you need at the beginning. It's not a knock on Lucchese. It's just a lot of money to spend before you really know what you want. Again, Lucchese, it's the polished heritage choice. It's the brand I would look to if the buyer already knows that you want a premium boot and you're comfortable paying for the name, the finish, and of course their history. It's a first serious pair. Although I'd be careful. A lot of men think spending more will make the decision safer. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it just makes the mistake more expensive. Ariat is almost the opposite conversation, in a good way. This is the brand for the guy who's not trying to baby his boots. Ariat is performance-minded. If you feel that more in the sole, the support, the fit options, the way the boots handle longer days, and in some way the romantic leather story, this is the boot some people are going to turn their nose up to. But I don't. There are days when you do not need romance. You need a boot that's going to make your knees not hate you by dinner. That's where Ariat makes sense. If you're working outside or standing for long stretches, walking on rough ground, mud, animals, gravel, or even bad weather, then Ariat's probably going to be at the top of that list. I'd look to Ariat before I looked at something prettier. The one thing I would watch with Ariat is style. Ariat has a lot of models, and some of them lean hard into work boot territory. That may be exactly what you're looking for. If you are, well, then great, you found your boot. But if you're picturing wearing jeans, a decent shirt, maybe out to dinner or a concert, I'd probably be a little more selective. Some Ariats look great under denim. Some look like they just belong on the job site and should probably stay there. This is a real distinction. For long days, rough use, Ariat's easy to defend. For a cleaner, everyday Western look, I would compare carefully before assuming every pair will do both jobs. Photos don't care how your feet feel after 6 hours. Your feet do. Chisos is one that I thought I'd bring up for a guy who already knows that he likes boots and wants something a little bit more substance. What Chisos gets right is that the boot can feel traditional without making comfort just an afterthought. There's a certain kind of boot person who acts like discomfort is a part of the deal. I've never bought that. Break-in is normal, punishment shouldn't be. Chisos has more weight to it, more underfoot pressure. The comfort system is part of the identity of the boot, not just a soft insert added for a good first impression. Cheap comfort often feels good for 10 minutes, then starts to feel flat or sloppy. Chisos feels more considered than that. I wouldn't call Chisos the safest pair for every guy. They have a stronger feel, some men love that immediately, others need a little bit more time to decide whether it works for them. Feet are weird. Cowboy boots make that obvious. But for someone who already owns boots and wants a better daily pair with more comfort, character, and substance, Chisos is easy to understand. It feels like a brand built by someone who actually wears boots and got tired of pretending hard leather underfoot is always noble. Not necessarily for the first-time buyer, but for a very real one. Tecovas is probably where I would send most men first. It does not replace Lucchese if you want luxury heritage. It is not Ariat if you need that hard-use performance. It's not Chisos if you want the heavier comfort first enthusiast feel. Tecovas is great because it makes it easier for a normal guy to buy a good-looking, real-feeling cowboy boot and actually wear it. Tecovas boots look clean. They have enough Western shape to feel legitimate, but they don't take over the whole outfit. You can wear them with a straight-leg jean, a work shirt, flannel, wax jacket, a plain tee, button down, just about anything. A lot of men don't want a cowboy boot that announces itself. They want something that looks natural once they're wearing it with a pair of jeans. Tecovas are also easier to wear right away. I'm not saying every pair will feel broken in the second you pull it on. Every foot is different, and boots are still boots. But Tecovas is one of the few Western boot brands where I would feel comfortable telling a newer buyer that the break-in shouldn't be miserable. Tecovas core men's boots use real boot-making details. Leather lining, stacked leather heels, and Goodyear welt construction on most styles. And they're made in Leon, Mexico, a city with serious leather and boot-making history. So I don't see Tecovas as a fashion brand pretending to be Western. They feel like a real boot. They just don't make the buying process harder than it needs to be. A lot of traditional boot brands make you sort through a huge range of lines, materials, toe shapes, price points, construction details before you even know which pair is right for you. Tecovas gives you a cleaner path. The price is part of that too. Tecovas isn't cheap, and I wouldn't want it to be, since cheap boots usually show themselves pretty quickly. Flat leather, sloppy stitching, a weak shape, maybe a sole that starts to feel disposable. But Tecovas isn't priced like you need to justify the purchase. That's the space a lot of boots are actually trying to be in, and the type of product a lot of men are looking for. They want quality, comfort, and they want the boots to look right without overpaying just for the name on the pull tab. That's why Tecovas makes sense as a starting point. So if we're breaking it down plainly, Lucchese, if budget isn't the issue and you want the heritage name, Ariat, if your day is rough, long, wet, work-focused, Chisos, if you already like boots and want more weight, comfort, character, and Tecovas, if you're asking where to start, because that's the pair I think a lot of men would actually wear. That's how I judge value, not by which brand has the longest history, and not by which product description sounds the most impressive. I care about which pair gets pulled on when you're walking out the door. The best everyday boot is the one you stop thinking about. It works with how you dress. It works with where you go, and it doesn't feel like it's a costume. It's not too precious, and it doesn't punish you for wanting to wear it on a normal day. You can wear them, scuff them a little, let the leather start looking like yours. That's what boots are supposed to do. So no, Tecovas isn't the answer for every man. If you need a hard-use work boot, I'd look at Ariat. If you want the luxury heritage, and again, budget isn't your issue, then Lucchese belongs in that conversation. And if you already know your preference and want that substantial comfort first heritage boot, that's Chisos. But for the guy who wants a real cowboy boot, wants to look like he meant to wear it, and doesn't want to spend the Lucchese money just to get started, Tecovas is the value pick I'd trust. That's where I'd begin.